Hello, my name's Steve Ressel. I'm the director of Invader Zim and producer. I helped get the crew together, get the production running, and I've been asked to do an audio track for personal reasons. And so I'm doing a track. This is Door to Door. This was our 11th, first in our 11th episode. And you can see it was written by Eric Trueheart, writer who did really good, ridiculous scripts, very imaginative. And this was also written by Courtney Lilly. I believe he came up with the premise. He was a writing intern we had, and he had gotten an internship for, I believe, a year at Nickelodeon. This was his first script that he had anything to do with. I think he only did 2 or 3 scripts overall in the whole series. Storyboarded by Joe Daniello and Ian Graham. Ian was one of the Graham brothers, if you ever see the titles, Graham Brothers on a storyboarding credit on one of these shows. I had worked with Ian for several years before. He and I had worked on Wild Thornberrys, although not I was a director, he was a board artist for another director. Worked on God, the Devil, and Bob. He was a board artist for another director. Rocket Power. He worked on one of my episodes, Twister's Cuz. This character's great, Poop Dog. There was a bit of controversy. Nickelodeon didn't really like this character very much, this Poop Dog character. They thought this was a very cheesy and cheap idea for a show. I thought it was actually it was sort of in line with Zim. Poop Dog's a little bit of a stretch, a little bit more silly and derivative of modern culture, but I thought the idea was actually a very good Zim idea. It dealt with Zim trying to make reason of his world, of this world, the Earth. You know, he would always get caught up in the minutiae. He'd always misunderstand the intentions of just about everything that was done in school or society. And it was good to get back to it after we deviated from some of the earlier stories, got more into space and more fantastic adventures. We were getting back down into school and school activities that normal children do. But Nickelodeon didn't like it very much, I think, or at least the execs. This is Joe's first storyboard I think he just about ever did in animation. I used to work with Joe when I first started my first job in animation in Brooklyn. And he really took off with these sorts of sequences. He came up with a lot of this little fun minutia going on, showing how the kids are just attacking people. And along with the neighbors losing their minds here, a lot of people lost their minds on his staff when they saw the laser beams flying around. They could never understand what these laser beams were doing, hitting the buildings and where they came from. And it was more just sort of a minor effect just to show how lethal and callous these children were while hunting for people to buy their candy. I love this Dib scene. Dib just gets so malicious. Usually Zim is very malicious to Dib. In this case, Dib sort of turns the tables and becomes a total a-hole. Of course, the violence of the drink and smacking the box and everything. Just ridiculous. It was also enjoyable to see Gurr in his little suit, his little boy suit. That was a really great touch. Eric or Joan, somebody came up with that whole idea. And it was really good to just see Zim going out into the world and dealing with people. And see how twisted he and Gurr were in their own little minds as they try to sell this candy. This breakdance sequence. Joe really put a lot of play into this show with the characters and the props. As you can see the bat, you can almost follow the bat. It becomes a secondary character that rolls around. Zim notices it, the woman picks it up. I love Gurr's little sparking body down there. A vomit joke. We usually couldn't do vomit jokes. Anything like that usually didn't pass on other shows I did. Zim somehow. It worked. We got away with it. Nickelodeon, not very happy with vomit, but they do like snot. This was a scene that was originally cut out with Frank. There was the character Frank in there who was modeled after the writing supervisor from Mystery Science Theater 3K. He was TV's Frank. And there was a sequence in there that was chopped out. It was Frank. They go up to Frank's house. It was cut for time, no other reason. It was actually a very nice little sequence. Zim tries to sell one more, to Frank. Frank opens the door. He's very reticent to deal with Zim. He's always looking back into his house, and as Zim runs off, basically cursing the guy, you see that Frank actually has a fire in the back of his house, and his house is burning up. And we left that remnant of the house burning up just to sort of play with the summer heat, even though it was a totally different house from the old woman. Gur's eating insanity. It's really good. Joe was always trying to put in foreground. He really was he was good with the visuals. He was very ambitious. He was always using foreground elements. I mean, I had always asked the board artists to put in foreground elements. Establish, reestablish, use perspective as much as possible. Ugh. Unfortunately, with the color and everything, it sort of works. It never quite came together with the color and the animation, everything. This sequence where you go into Zim's Mania is pretty good. Could have been a little bit smoother. We've done better on this show. But the animation artist overseas, the animation director, Mr. Han, he animated that wonderfully, that cloak on Poop Dog. And that is actually done by Kathleen Quaife, our effects designer. She was an animator for Disney films for years and had been in the business for many years. I think she originally worked on the Dragon's Lair game by Don Bluth back in '83 after she got out of art school. And those curls that you're seeing there are actually just a rip-off kind of the cloak on, I think it was Hades in the Hercules movie. It animates wonderful. Look at that. This was, we slowed that down so you can see Dib. Very difficult to get stylishly out of that nightmare world. It's a nice perspective, nice touch. Originally, there was a little bit longer sequence there, too, as you see Dib. Dib was supposed to be terribly misformed. You see it's in Zim's mind. Sort of compressed for time. We always had the problem with time on these shows. A little bit too much writing. A little bit too much visuals. I don't even know if I could say a little bit too much visuals all the time. We usually would back up the story with a good little visual section here or there, but definitely a lot of story. And we always had a tough time. Oh, there's that roach. The weenies that you see those kids eating actually were a pile of roaches in the beginning. Jonah wanted roaches crawling all over, and the kids are just smashing them on the wall and eating them. It's a very disgusting family. Their house looks a little bit nice now, actually. But it was originally supposed to be the most disgusting home, the most disgusting family, and it still looks pretty disgusting. But those were roaches. Joe turned them into a pile of roaches when he storyboarded this. And when they wouldn't let us do the roaches in New York Nickelodeon, we turned them into, there's our change scene. Turned them into weenies, into cocktail weenies. This scene was redone. Originally there was a scene with New York being destroyed. Or a large city. And because of 9/11, the show was supposed to show 2 days or 3 days before 9/11, and when the Trade Center went down, they stopped that show from being aired, and they made us change that scene. It was just that one scene. It was the only scene that was changed to the show, but the original was very, very nice, multi-level with some 3D ships cruising in between buildings. He shoves her into his pocket, that mutant. I'm surprised we got away with a flaming mutant. Usually they would stop us from doing anything with people burning. Zim's tongue lick, which also was supposed to be cut.